Well, good afternoon. This is Houndog wishing you a very pleasant afternoon, and here we are. Things are underway. As you can see, the container is now on the property, and the wood that you see behind me here is going to get loaded into the back of this, along with the contents of the other container over here. Now, this is what they call a new container, although it was used once. It was loaded for one shipment and then went on the market after that. But yeah, this is what $6,000 buys you in Canada today. $4,400 was the cost of the container itself, and then there was taxes and shipping was nearly $1,000 to bring it up from Toronto to here. But, you know, I'd rather have it here rather than get trapped with the snow looking for a deal and save myself $1,000. You know, I got to get this done. This has to get loaded. I'll show you in a second. This wood over here I'd bought before I moved up here when I was going to put my barbershop in the backyard of my home in Bobcaygeon. And, well, that didn't pan out, but this was about $7,000 worth of milled hemlock, which is now tripled in price. And of course, being fully seasoned now, it's invaluable for building when I go to my next location. And the other thing too, that I wanted to get something sturdy. And by the way, a used one of these is about only $1,000 cheaper. And when they come off service, like the used ones, basically they could no longer be used as a container because they're no longer seaworthy. And yeah, they're in real rough shape. So for a sake of $1,000, this could be a shelter. It is unbelievable storage. I couldn't build a home or a room as sturdy as this for $6,000 right now. Okay, but one of the main reasons, because this has been on my mind quite a lot, because I follow David Devine, Adapt 2030. He's a great guy. In fact, I will leave a link in the description box below. Unbelievable research this man has done. Anyway, when you go back into the more than minimum and in the Middle Ages there, 1600s, there were hailstorms where hail could be as big as basketballs. Apparently there are records of one village where there was nothing left larger than a matchstick after one of these hailstorms went through. Or they come down as spears, 6-foot spears, like icicles. Can you imagine that coming down? And so this is why many peoples around the world have rock dwellings, or a safety in a place, you know, an underground city where they can retreat to, because, you know, these kind of extremes were normal. Okay, and you know, it's been on my mind, like, well, what do you do? There's no caves around here. There's nothing I could get under. Everything else is wood. You know, houses wouldn't be able to withstand that kind of punishment. And here we are. Here is the perfect safety container. This will withstand a hailstorm of that magnitude, and you would still be safe. So all in all, I think I got value for money, and I am not complaining. Anyway, let's go take a little look around the place. We'll have a walk and talk as we go, and yeah, not much has changed. We're just getting ready for fall. Things are getting shut down, kind of stuff, but yeah, we'll take a little poke around. Here we go. So these 6x6s have got a little surface moisture on them. That's why they're out here just drying off. They were down in this bottom corner. But as you can see, the rest of this stuff is wonderful. To have fully seasoned wood like this will cost you a fortune. Look at it. Now this is 2 years old now. This has been seasoning for. And it's all been stacked properly. There's been gaps between everything. So yes, definitely going to take this along for the trip. Now it looks like there's an awful lot of wood there, but you can see the spacing, so there's a lot of spaces, and so it's not as heavy as all that. Now luckily these containers are unbelievable. 30,000 kilograms for 67,000 pounds. That is about 24 ton. So an unbelievable amount of stuff can be gotten into one of these containers. Now, a word to people who have never done this kind of stuff before. I was pleased to see some ventilation holes up in the corners here, front and back. Okay, I'm going to put skids down because, you know, when you're storing things up like this, moisture is your worst enemy. And these flutes in the wall, okay, that will mean that there is air movement around the sides, and putting them on the skids, you'll have air movement underneath. Now, trust me, you do not want to get damp. Once that starts to get in, wet rot or dry rot, you want to make sure it's all packed away nice and dry, and like I say, as much ventilation as you can possibly have all around the wood. So yes, I'm actually pretty pleased. I'm pretty pleased. And we have been blessed with this weather. It's unbelievable. Today is the 3rd of November, and wow, it's like 19 degrees. It's going to be, I think, 8 degrees overnight. That, for this time of year, is unbelievable, and truly welcome. Truly welcome to be able to get a whole bunch of that stuff loaded up whilst it's still dry. Absolutely wonderful. And again, I'm just setting things up here, but that's why the skids are upside down, to let those bottoms dry out, so I'm not taking any moisture into that container. The chickens have come to check out my chores. I'm cleaning out the hen house. This is about every 3 or 4 days. You've got to take out a whole bunch of stuff. It's usually clumped together so you can just use it, use your hand. And this door is usually closed, so they're not used to coming in and out of this door. But they've settled in, and they seem to be happy. I'm getting 4 nice brown chooky eggs a day. And I did discover that it was Jasmine that killed the chickens, the 2 chickens that went down. And because I watched her do it to one of the chickens, she was trying to herd them, and one of the chickens kind of went down on its chest, and she put her nose in the middle of its back, and its wings went back. And anyway, I called her off, and that chicken survived, but those other 2 had heart attacks. You know, they're reasonably robust, but they don't like that kind of thing. They don't like that kind of thing. What we're waiting for right now is a set of batteries to turn up. The owner has ordered a new set of batteries for the solar setup, and I am so pleased. These batteries, like I say, this house was abandoned for 6 years, and so the batteries were kind of, I mean, they were checked, but you know, the owner would only come in about once every 2 or 3 weeks to take a look to make sure everything was okay. I don't know whether they froze. I had a heat light on last year because it was so cold in there. It was unbelievable, and all the water, the distilled water for the batteries, froze, and I thought, oh, no, I'm going to put a heat lamp in there. And so anyways, there's the ramp we're going to use to take the batteries out. And this is the battery pack. Now each individual cell in there does come out, so that's what we'll be doing, is removing all of those cells, then taking the box that it's in out, and I'll be putting a new piece of styrofoam and a base down there for the new pack to sit on. Now this is a 450 amp hour battery pack, and that's how they measured the size of the batteries. And the one we have coming is a 630 amp hour battery pack, and it will make such an unbelievable difference having that 180 amp hours, because I can now bridge 2 cloudy days, which will mean that the generator is on an awful lot less, because quite honestly, it was usually about 2 days of cloud, then we get back into sun or part sun again and get the batteries charging. So the generator will be on a lot less, but it will be a bit of a workup, and I may take some video of us doing the job. But like I say, each one of those packs in there weighs about 90 pounds. It has to be pulled out, put on a dolly, and then down that ramp and loaded onto a truck. Come on in. Now this is how you get your puppies used to all kinds of animals. The other one's not quite sure. Hiding behind a snowblower. Anyways, you can see they have grown substantially, and they're getting more adventurous all the time. But I really do love the idea of all these animals being integrated, getting along with each other, respecting each other. What a champion. They're all drinking water now, which is good, and very little interest in nursing. Well, they're only 3 weeks away from going to their new homes. Then it'll seem quiet. But this is what happens, okay, in this 2 or 3 weeks. Mama's teaching them not to nip. See how careful, how gentle she is? Just enough. So this is how moms discipline their pups. Anyway, that's what the breeder did tell me, is that if you take away the pups at 6 weeks instead of 8, they can get nipping problems. Because mum needs a couple of weeks to school the kids and get them in line. Anyway, as I said before in other videos, it's just such beautiful weather. It's nice to be able to let them out and run and explore a little bit, get their legs. Yeah, the garden is just about cleaned out. Those chicken marauders have cleaned up any greens that were left over. So I've been watching with mouth open, agog, the goings on in Europe, Ukraine, some of the things that are being said. Yep, lettuce is coming up. Stories of a dirty nuclear bomb in Ukraine. Everyone is finger pointing, everyone, wow. It seems to me what's going on, you know, is that you have this WEF, Great Reset agenda. And I mean, this is not conspiracy theory, this is a fact. Klaus Schwab has written the book. And but anyways, all of the other countries, all of the other leaders, they have their own agenda. And they will only go along with the WEF as far as it suits their agenda. And I think you've seen the parting of the ways with Russia. You know, the Russian people are a lot more patriotic and nationalistic than a lot of people in North America or Europe, for example. To lose their identity is a lot more important to them than obviously it has been to us, because we have lost our culture, where we have subsumed our culture to another. And you know, there is one thing to be said for, you know, having other cultures within your culture, but not at the expense of your culture. I mean, that's why they came here in the first place. So yeah, don't lose your culture. Remain a distinct country, Canada, and these people can remain distinct within this country, but to lose our identity for the sake of someone else's identity just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. See, look at those chickens, they're even helping the compost out. They hop right in there and pick through stuff and scratch it around. I mean, they are unbelievable workers. They're tireless. They are tireless. And you know, Jasmine she can't stop. Look. They're like her little kids. So anyway, what I believe is happening right now is that the group of people in America who are running America, whether it's deep state or whatever you want to call it, they have realized that the US dollar is going to lose its reserve currency status because debt everywhere is just absolutely running out of control. And so they've decided that what they're going to do, they're going to use that to their advantage, and they're going to, as they are doing, trash every other currency around the world by raising interest rates at home. To fight inflation, which is questionable because the inflation is already happening. It's too late. That money's already been printed and it's already in the system. The only inflation that the interest rates are doing right now, are helping right now, is inflation to come. And you know, we're not in a overheated economy. In fact, things are slowing in the economy. So they're doing all the wrong things at the wrong time. But I mean, to make common sense, of course, for the people, but what they are doing is they are crashing every other economy, so they will go down first, and America will remain standing and has every opportunity to be a continuing power in the world. And you can see that's what's happening. Oh, look at that. He'll be hibernating soon. He's enjoying this warm weather too. As soon as it gets cold, he'll be under a rock somewhere and go dormant. So, how this will work out? Well, I can tell you how it's going to work out. It's going to be terrible. I cannot see any possible way that this can be avoided now. Things are set in motion. You know, these countries, I think also the leaders have realized of these countries that they are the ones who are going to be on the hook. You know, the Klaus Schwabs of this world, they don't get taken apart. They don't get attacked. They have their secret island somewhere, their secret base. Okay? It's the leaders who will have to face an unbelievably angry public when they realized that a lot of this was preventable, and the damage, it's just beginning. We haven't seen the length and breadth of this yet at all. The other day, diesel in my area anyways went to $2.30 a litre. That was a 30-cent jump virtually overnight. And down in the city it is $2.40. And I was talking this morning when the can came to the driver, and he says, oh yeah, you can't believe how it's put up our cost of shipping. And you know, that has to be passed on to the customer. Someone's got to pay for that. So it's going to be extremely difficult, because as you know, if your income is not keeping up with inflation, well, guess what? You're not going out. You know, you are not doing any discretionary spending whatsoever. And so of course that just leads to a downward spiral. If restaurants aren't busy, they'll be laying off staff. Those staff in turn are not spending. The restaurant may go out of business because, well, you get the picture. I mean, you know, I can see that you're all bright people, and you know, you can put two and two together. Well, you're watching my channel, why wouldn't you? A little pat on the back there. But you know, it's common sense. You know, a lot of these things that we have experts and specialists for, they're not particularly difficult to figure out. It's just common sense if you look at it. And I am going to do a little video about an amnesty, a pandemic amnesty, that one of these absolute devout believers during the pandemic, forcing other people. Oh yeah, now they want amnesty. Anyway, I don't want to spoil the video. I want to get into a little bit more about that. And yeah, fantastic. It is actually good news, because it indicates quite a lot. So our main problem is, you know, that we have built a web of trade and business that is so interwoven that it is not independent, it is interdependent. And so you pull on one string and it affects absolutely everything. Could this have been avoided? I don't know, but the people who built the system are sure not going to be able to fix it, because everything, you know, it's like that old saying, you know, when you have a hammer, when all you have is a hammer, you see every problem as a nail. And that's how these people, you know, deal with stuff. They don't even want to deal with the underlying problem, which is, of course, the fractional reserve financial system, which guarantees inflation. It guarantees people are going to lose businesses and farms, houses, and so on and so forth. I mean, it's baked into the cake. And until you reform that, you ain't going to reform anything, because the same set of circumstances always end up where we are right now. Unbelievable inflation, unbelievable levels of debt, and pain and suffering and agony for the general public. And of course, it's the very fact that these people, you know, really don't get affected in the same way that you and I do, that there is no incentive to reform that system. In fact, they do very well out of fractional reserve. You know, it's only because the greed element takes over in all of these systems and spoils it, becomes one-sided. In fact, these systems are designed to keep a certain group of people in power and another group of people deliberately out of power. So resolving that system is absolutely the first order of business, the financial system, and let the cards fall where they may. Are there going to be winners and losers? Yes. Why? Because there's always winners and losers. But what it will mean is that if we have sound money back, at least what you earn is what you keep. Okay, it's not being inflated out of your hands. So a lot of these systems that we have, political systems that we have, actually, I mean, really wouldn't be that bad if they remained their sense of honesty, integrity and fairness. But, you know, they always get mission creep, and, you know, people get power hungry, and they find ways to divert money into their pockets out of the taxpayers' pockets. And there you go, it spoils the whole thing for everybody. And the answer to that is sound money. And that is why I say, you know, Bitcoin will ultimately be the reserve currency of the world, because there'll be nothing left to turn to. No one will trust dollars, yuan, pounds, euros. It won't matter what you've got, whether it's digital, whether it's backed by gold. I will guarantee you that China or Russia will not do trade again with the West, for example, in anything other than a currency that they all trust and respect. And there is only one at this moment, and that is Bitcoin. It's been functioning for 12 years now without problem. It has done exactly what it has said it'll do. But the biggest thing about it is that it doesn't like one person more than another, and it eradicates cheating. Bitcoin thinks that the fractional reserve system is a fraud, and that's exactly what it is. You know, if you were to go out, if you were to do that, you know, with the create $9 for every one you had in your pocket, do me a favor, just phone the RCMP or the police, wherever you are in the world, and ask them what would happen if you did that. You'd be arrested in a heartbeat for fraud, and that's exactly what it is. They know what it is. So that's what Bitcoin eliminates, without favoritism. Without favoritism. So this is part of the long trail that I just finished the other day. I might do a walk and talk down there, because you can now take the ATV right the way down to the creek. And as you can see by the tracks here, it is really working this trail in quite well. And it's so peaceful. Of course, you hear any truck that goes down the road now, you hear really loudly because there's no leaves on the trees, but even so, it's still pretty quiet. But yes, we're going to go through a very difficult times, because everyone is going to basically stop doing trade with each other. You know, I heard a story the other day. Russia is shipping oil or natural gas to Germany via China. Okay, so the ships are leaving China with Russian gas on them. It costs $400,000 a day to ship that stuff. And these ships are now circling in off the coast of Spain, waiting for the price to go up. So you can see, you know, you can see how animosities start. You know, what would you do if somebody deliberately, you know, did a dirty trick like that whilst you're struggling? And that's what's happening, because inflation drives everything a little bit faster, and those with leverage will use that leverage to their advantage, and they won't care. So once this starts happening, you can see how this is going to be very, very difficult for everybody. So I would fasten your seatbelts, get your flak jacket on, toughen up, but don't give up the fight. Don't give up the fight. I'm going to get into this in this other video about this woman that did the story about the amnesty. And because we are winning. There's no doubt about it. We are winning. And there you go. Southern Ontario is ready for winter.